EDL 856 case study. When we look at the facts of the case, we see that there is a newly formed parents organization for this school. The newly formed group is functioning as an independent organization because they have decided to discontinue the affiliation with the National PTA organization as a parents group. This organization, under and with the PTA, was always strong, always a supportive force in education for the school. The administration has always believed in the importance and the positive support that has been provided by the PTA and the parents' organization. The PTA has not been a part of decision making, curriculum, or policy making, nor should it be. The principal called a meeting to meet with the members of this new parents' organization to discuss the annual back to school night program. This meeting brought to light several factors. First of all, this newly formed parents' organization held a meeting the previous week and they formed different other committees and made some very life altering decisions without the consent of the principal, or at the very least, without giving him any type of knowledge of the meeting or a heads up of any type. The president of this parents' organization informed the principal of the decisions that were made at this meeting. They want the school to sponsor a series of back to school meetings that focus of on several subjects, as well as have the teachers continue to be there for parent teacher conferences during the entire week for the American Education Week. During this week, the teachers would have to create and give a presentation in addition to the responsibilities that they normally have during the parent teacher conferences. The parents in this new organization have made it clear they want to be involved in decision making, policy making. They want an equal partnership and the decisions that are made within the school. The committees that they have formed are formed for discipline, teacher performance, curriculum, and school evaluation. Now, the principal knows that he has to respond, and he has to do so in such a way as to allow support from the parents, but to still retain responsibility and legal obligations, not just to his staff, but to the school and the students overall. The facts in more detail. The principal has grave concern over the newly formed parents' organization, and justifiably so. When the new organization decided to not be a part of the PTA or the nationally or locally known parent teacher organization as it had been, there were other factors of concern that also became evident at that time. After the formation of the new group, the officers of this group were elected. During the same meeting, the group's biggest discussion and concern factors were parent participation and community involvement. So, within this meeting of involving the parents, one of the biggest concern was how to get the parents involved and how to keep the community involved. So, the members of this organization did not seem to be unhappy necessarily about anything other than the own lack of participation in their own group and the lack of involvement that they had at the time. This was incredibly confusing for the principal to decipher at the time. With the knowledge that the PTA or the organization as it functioned as the PTA, it was a positive support group with positive aspects. The principal had doubts and concerns about the independence or the independently operational group and organization that they have become and that they have created, and he rightfully has these concerns. Historically, the PTA played a large, significant, and positive, important role for the school overall. They played a large role in planning of annual parent staff picnics, the parent teacher conferences. And in fact, the PTA had initiated a lot of the planning for the parent teacher conferences, and they helped with the promotion of a bond referendum for the building when they added on to the building for this building addition. The principal does not believe the parents should play a role or be involved in the decision making or the policy making for the school. He also does not believe that the parents should be involved with curriculum decisions, development of instruction, staff evaluations, etc. and rightfully so. He is ultimately held responsible for those decisions and for anything that happens within those decisions or the evaluation of such. There's a feeling and evidence that the parents' organization has kind of bulldozed its way into an area in which they're not ethically or legally permitted to participate because they're not ethically or legally bound to the responsibilities of those decisions. The organization will not listen to the principal, cut him off on several occasions when he attempts to speak to them in regard to these concerns. So, the legal or ethical issues that are presented. Ethically, because the parents' organization is a piece of the educational puzzle, the principal should have had the ability to play more of a role in the decision for this parents' organization to leave the PTA. While choosing officers and people to represent them, uh, while this is a necessity for this particular group, and it is for most official groups, the president chosen for the group is a young attorney, and this could pose ethical issues going forward for them. Politically, there could be a political influence that could play a potentially large role in all of this. And this is already evident in the manner by which the president of the organization has communicated. He's not allowing any other members or parents to be a part of the communication or the outreach with the principal, and it's very concerning. Will he treat the organization like he would treat his legal clients? So far, it's kind of appearing to be that way, but we're not really sure how that would continue. When groups like this take on new roles and new outlooks that have more responsibility and voice, uh, we have to take into account the population of the rest of the school and all the other parents that would be involved. Will all the parents feel the same as those on the committees? Will the other parents feel as if their voices, opinions, and concerns are not properly heard or addressed? And will the backlash be directed and directly affect the leadership of the school, as well as the relationships with the leadership of the school, because this leadership allowed for the parents group to essentially take over and do these things within these committees? When we look at the legal issues, we see that it is possible that the president of the parents' organization may try to leverage power with his career as a young attorney, and this could present many legal things in the future. Due to privacy laws as well as other laws and constitutional policies, there are areas and issues parents are not allowed to be a part of in the school without being certified or legally employed through the district. And there's a reason for that certification and the legalities of employment with the district when you're dealing with policy, when you're dealing with privacy, and you're dealing with personal information. Employee, employment, privacy, educational evaluation, improvement. There are so many issues that are of legal value for which the leadership is held responsible. And so you have to kind of look at the contract laws, privacy laws, and all the other legally bound issues that leadership deals with. One of the most important responsibilities of any leader is establishing a vision and inviting others to share in its development. The leadership in this position has done that. Consequently, when the principal attempts to do this, the parents' organization attempts to overtake the responsibilities, overtake the vision, and overtake the mission of the school, when in reality, the legal and ethical issues of such create major problems that could have disastrous effects for all stakeholders, not just in the school, but in the district overall. When we synthesize the facts, we look at the people. Well, the principal, he attempts to give and have and keep participation and interaction with the parents and the community through the PTA. He wants that interaction and he wants people to be participating. Politics is a possible player with the new parents organization. And while it's exciting and promising to have these parents really highly involved in local education, the principal does have a reason to worry with the recent behavior of the young attorney who is the president of this new organization. The president of the new parents organization is the only member talked about or mentioned apart from the group. He's a young lawyer, which also presents complications, and it is a complication that he's the only one making that communication between the two areas. Look at places. Well, the community of the school and the district are not specifically discussed. So we're not really sure of the demographics of the school. Those are all issues and information that are unknown. The size of the community and school, as well as the district, are all also unknown. The taxpayers, parents, community, they should all have ownership in the vision, mission, and overall education in order to facilitate any type of journey that they're willing to go on and willing to follow. For the program, although the principal didn't feel that the PTA should actually be involved in school decision making or the development of the instructional or curricular policies, he did believe that they had an important role to play in supporting the school program overall. And that's important to know and important to point out. This is a public school which belongs to the community as a whole, and it should be treated as such. So, when decisions are made, such as the parents group and the school leadership, those things do have to be taken into account. If you don't have a common agreed on destination, then everyone is left to his or her own devices to imagine one, a scenario that results in unharnessed and unfocused efforts, with everyone believing that what he or she is doing is right. This is a prime example of something of that nature. You have parents in this parent group who all believe that what they're doing is correct. But what they don't see is something that the leadership position sees. As the principal, you see that everyone has to have an agreed upon destination. And in this particular instance, the parents group doesn't see that agreed upon destination for what it is. And the principal has a better vision of that. And they need to include him in that so that everyone can be on the same page. A review and priority of the information. Well, overall, the conflict, the situation, everything, um, any decisions made in this capacity could damage the education system, building, district, community. It could damage the stakeholders, relationships, and anything of that nature. Instead, there should be a time when everyone comes together, does what is ethically, morally, and systematically necessary and right for kids. I think it's incredibly important for everyone to remember never to lose sight of the main purpose, and that is the best of our kids. All the stakeholders involved, all administrators at all levels, parents, students, other staff members, board members, community members, everybody plays a role and has an important stake in the education and in the community. A complete success will set new standards for the district and for the community, but a disaster will set the community back instead of taking it forward. So ultimately, we're looking at the futures of these children and of these students that is the highest stake risk. While the parents organization has stakeholders who are valuable to decisions for the building, which are the parents essentially, school leaders, teachers, district office, board of education, students, the community, everyone, they all need a voice in these crucial efforts. Additionally, ethical and legal considerations, ramifications, issues, these all have to be considered as well. Parents have a strong voice and they are the major support system for our kids and for our school. But they also must place some trust in the leadership and the teachers and their students to make proper decisions for the well being and future of all the stakeholders involved. So, although there is always room to learn about any given situation, not all of the data and information will always be available for leaders to make crucial and necessary decisions. And in this situation, more information would be helpful for this particular conflict, but it's not necessarily crucial for an ethical decision to be made or to make a decision that would be best for kids. So let's look at all our options. Number one, we could take no action. Let it run its course the way it's already going. Just leave it be and let it run its course. Or ask the members of the new parents committee to reconsider its leadership due to the career of the current president they've chosen, reestablish relationships with the new president and other members of the new parents organization, or completely ignore the vote of the organization, step in as principal, make some decisions for the organization, tell the organization they have to go back and join the PTA again, and pretty much dictate what they have to do. When doing this, they also need to have more data and statistics to support the educational purpose for collaboration, for mission, vision, as well as ethical and legal information for any decisions that have to be made by the school leadership. And they need to know why. Or completely ignore the vote of the organization, step in as principal, make some decisions for the organization, then allow them to continue independently, but make sure that they also include school leadership at all of their meetings and all their decision making processes. Again, giving them all the data and statistics and support that they need for the educational purposes of collaboration for mission and vision, ethical, legal information, for all of the decisions that they have to be made. And the very last option would be to ask for a meeting with the new parent organization. Let's start over, let's start new, let's reorganize. Additionally, we need to show this organization that there is a need to remain or to rejoin the PTA structure. We need to prepare several areas in which to compromise, and we need to allow for more participation and input from our parents, but without compromising the ethical or legal standards. Again, give all of these people data, statistics, support for educational purposes of collaboration in mission, vision, ethics, legal decisions, and informations that have to be made. Um, it- we need to train, and we need to better train these people to know all of the information before making crucial decisions. So, the possible consequences if we were to take no action, just let it run its course as it is. Well, it's highly probable there's going to be some continuing issues between parent organizations, school leaders, and there might be some issues with teachers and others that are also employed in the district and with the school because of hearsay. Due to the current president being a young attorney, if anything does not go the way the parent group wants to, there could be threats of legal ramifications against the school leadership, against the teachers. And because the parent organization has put itself in a position to make decisions that are completely outside the legal boundaries of education, there's a high possibility that the school and district will be in serious legal trouble due to privacy and employment evaluation issues. Ultimately, all of this could damage relationships between parents and students, other stakeholders, and create issues for education of the students now as well as the students in the future. And it could happen that everything just runs fine. The involvement of the new parent organization takes on a whole new role in education, and nothing else goes wrong. That is completely possible. Another possible consequence, if we were to ask members of the new parent organization to reconsider their leadership, um, there could be resentment, animosity from the very beginning with the organization due to that first president being removed from that position. And the second president might be unwilling to collaborate and budge because of the animosity. And the new president could do the exact same thing the first one did and not be willing to work with the principal or school. Um, at this point, then valuable time and collaboration is lost, and we kind of have worked backwards. It could be that the superintendent, other parents, and community will not look kindly upon this unilateral decision that's made by the principal, and he could be seen as overstepping his boundaries to choose this new president, and it will affect professional relationships of all kinds going forward. And then, of course, there's also the big issue of ethical and legal issues or problems that could present themselves. The new president might just be glad to work collaboratively and develop what's best for all stakeholders and the kids in the community. Everything could go fine. It could be that the president and the parent group will help to establish a great rapport with the community and the rest of the district, and everything works out just fine. Another possible consequence if we were to ignore the vote of the organization completely, step in, make decisions for everybody unilaterally as the principal, but also giving the data and statistics needed for them to have all the information. The organization members could be very difficult to work with because they did not vote for this course of action. And of course, ultimately, we could have a lot of resentment and issues. The organization and its members may look at the principal as an unwilling person to compromise and collaborate, and that could lose him a lot of respect. The other members, besides the current president, may actually respect the fact that the principal takes a stand on his leadership, takes control, and makes sure the collaborative process takes place. It may end up being a huge success, and the principal could earn more respect in the process. If the principal were to ignore the vote of the organization, step in, make decisions for everybody, and require school leadership to be part of the process from here on out, of course, giving all of the data and statistics needed for information to be known. That first president could resent the new president. There could be a divide in the group so that very little is accomplished. You'll have people choosing sides and nothing gets done. There could be mistrust of school leaders, and ethical and legal issues could arise. It could just end up being a big mess. The two leaders, the old president, new president, and all of the other members of the organization could all come together and absolutely do what's best for kids and the community. They could do it within the ethical and legal confines of the boundaries that are needed, and everything be fine. You could also have the new president and all of the members of the organization convince this old president to collaborate. They may be able to all come together to a consensus and collaborate for the best of the community, and again, do it within those confines and boundaries of ethics and laws. And then if we look at the last possibility and we ask for a meeting with this organization and we ask, okay, we need to reorganize, we need to compromise, we need to make sure that we're within the boundaries of ethics and laws and give them all the data and statistics they need about laws and ethics and mission and vision for all the stakeholders involved. And that very first president that was elected and some of the members of the organization could resent the principal for stepping in. There could be a divide in the group so that very little is accomplished. The two presidents, the old and new elected, and all of the members could come together. They could all do what's best for kids in the community. They could use all of the new norms and guidelines and values and information that's given to them and stay within the confines of the ethical and legal parameters given. It could be that the members of this organization lose all respect for the principal because he changed his mind and he changed his stance on the norms and guidelines, and it makes it difficult to work with them and collaborate with them, and just makes the overall situation very difficult to manage. Or everyone involved understands the need to remain with the PTA. The ethical and legal needs are understood and abided by, and everyone comes together to collaborate with boundaries, but they still increase the participation and involvement for the best needs of the students, for the needs of the staff and the community and all the stakeholders, and they continue to make that progress without any of the resentment for the principal doing his job the way that he best sees fit. Look at the pros and the cons of all of these. If we take no action, while the pros could be the results are truly diplomatic, out of the principal's control. You can kind of just step back and say, I didn't do this. But the cons would be the results take much longer to develop. So you're going to have, it's going to be a trial and error process because the people in this particular organization do not have the training that they need to make the decisions they're trying to make. Ethics could be completely ignored, so you have more ethical issues in the long run. And then the principal doesn't have a true grasp on leadership in his own building, and it looks as if he's kind of lost control from the start. If we ask the members of the new parent organization to reconsider their leadership and to re-elect someone new, well, the positives, the principal makes a statement with his actions and gets the job done. And the adverse side of that would be that the results could take much longer to develop. Again, those decisions that are being made, they don't have the training for. Ethics are ignored. We have more ethical issues that come about, and resentments could be high. If we look at the pros and cons of ignoring the vote of the organization, step in, make all the decisions, kind of just take over. Pros, the results are truly ethical and legally best. Everything is abided by. But the cons, we're going to have lots of resentments. There are going to be ethics that are still ignored, and you're still going to have ethical issues that arise because of that. If we look at ignoring the vote of the organization, stepping in, making all the decisions, and require school leadership to be a part of everything, you're still going to have that con side of the results taking much longer to develop. You're going to have a problem with trust and collaboration and resentments altogether. On the positive side, the principal makes a statement with his actions, gets the job done, he's ethical, there's legal boundaries, all that needs to be established is done. And then if we look at that last option, if we ask for a meeting, we ask to reorganize, we show the organization the need to remain or rejoin the PTA, we compromise, we stay ethical, we stay legal. Looking at the adverse side of that, you're going to see the results could take much longer to develop. You're going to have a longer time to develop trust and collaboration, perhaps. And some of this can be dealt with through training. Um, Ethics and laws could be ignored, and then you have more issues with the ethics and laws. And then there is the possibility for resentments again. On the positive side of this, you can have a principal who makes a statement with his actions. He's getting the job done, he's adding value, he's adding lessons to the norms and collaboration, he's teaching and training on laws and ethics, and all of those come together as a positive adventure. If you want big impact, you have to choose wisely. So, what do we choose? The best option in this is going to be to ask for a meeting with the new parent organization, start new, reorganize, show the organization through data, statistics, information, research, the need to remain with the PTA. We need to prepare several areas in which to compromise. We need to say, hey, we can compromise on these areas, but these areas are not compromisable due to the laws and ethics of the situation. But through all of this, we need to allow for the participation and input to occur with the parents because that's what we ultimately want. And we don't want to compromise ethics or legal standards in the process. Through all of this, we're going to give data, statistics, support, educational purpose for all of the collaboration, mission, vision, for all the stakeholders, give ethical and legal information for the decisions that have to be made by the school leadership. We need to do some more training. This decision takes into account discussions, consultation with all needed stakeholders, and this also covers the concerns and ideas of all stakeholders. It will allow for some creativity, it allows for teachable moments, and it holds a good balance of compromise. Effective collaboration equals creativity, new ideas, improvements, and a comprehensive plan. That's what makes a lot of these groups very valuable. Put the plan into action. Action added to our core values and priorities and ethics, we can achieve great success. Through the implementation, when we choose this path, we're going to discuss issues with the superintendent and other leaders. We need to gain insight, we need to gain additional needs, we need to explain a need for the added education and training, and that's mostly in regard to the ethics and the laws, so that the members of the parent organization have all the training that they need. And especially the elected officials of this organization who are going to be held in high regard. We need to invite all stakeholders to a meeting. We need to have additional leaders there, superintendent, as well as the attorney for the district. When they all attend, then that we have all of the information that we need from everybody in the process and in leadership all in one place. We need to discuss with the parent organization the need to rejoin the PTA. Establishing themselves as an independent entity can create bigger issues and problems. Having the support of being a part of the PTA will make the process a lot smoother. We need to present new norms and guidelines, and this includes the need for school leadership to play a role and be in the loop with these decisions that are made. Uh, it requires collaboration for everything, and collaboration needs to happen for everything that's put out by this organization. The norms will probably have to be taught. They need to be quickly worked within the group itself. And we need to not take time to teach these things and to train our people. Additionally, we need to give data, statistics support, the need for collaboration, for mission, for vision, for ethics, for laws. All of these are imperative for sustained growth, for sustained achievement, and for success. Well, what could happen? Virtually anything, but any adverse actions have to be dealt with, and they have to be dealt with on a professional level and a one on one level. When needed, the superintendent might be asked to join in discussions and do any maybe disagreements or issues that arise. A refusal to collaborate or resistance due to lack of ethics or legal issues that arise, the superintendent may be asked to join in on those. And occasionally, we may have to have our attorney of the district come in as well. Everything needs to remain above board and ethical at all times, and that's not compromisable. The open door for all collaboration and decision making will provide for comprehensive ability to communicate across the board, and we need to keep that communication open at all times as well. Those who need to be in on the loop, well, superintendent, of course, organization members, the parents that are within the organization, all of the school board members might need to be versed on what is going on. So when they are needed, they'll be brought into other school leaders, making sure this doesn't happen across the district. And of course, the district attorney, and this is for the legal issues for education. Everyone will have shared equity, and that's incredibly important. Individualized communication with warnings. It's important to make sure that warnings are given ahead of time so that people know what the consequences are. The first president, we need to have a conversation with him. He needs to understand that the organization um, is one that is bound by the district and by education. So when we have that conversation with him, we need to clear the air. We need to professionally address the concerns and keep him informed of the issues that were involved in the decisions, ethical and otherwise. From a leadership perspective, we need to have that conversation so as to identify this need for a positive change. If the need arises, this young attorney will be informed of consequences, and it could be possible that he needs to be removed from the committee if there are other adverse issues that occur. If he continues to push beyond the professional boundaries and norms established, then it may just call for him to be removed from that particular committee. For the rest of the committee, they need to be addressed. We need to keep everyone informed, involved, and know of the possible outcomes through these warnings, but make sure that it's done in a positive nature. Plan B, we always need one. If this course of action does not work, the second option for a course of action is to look for and hire a consulting firm. Have them come in, specifically work with the establishment of the parent organization. Sometimes when you have a third party come in and you discuss with this third party and they see from a different perspective and an outside source, sometimes that light bulb kind of goes off and goes, oh, maybe it's not personal. This really is how it needs to be. The third course of action would be to remove those from the organization who refuse to work as a team and do as they need to do to collaborate with an evaluative collaboration in order to effectively develop core sets of values and priorities. Of course, keeping intact ethics and laws and a comprehensive ability to communicate. And everything needs to be done in an ethical and legal fashion. Active leadership, ethics, laws, and collaboration are absolutely key. Key ideas, values, and beliefs are the beginning of powerful visions, and it can only be accomplished through collaboration. It is because of this collaboration and the vision and active leadership, it is because of all of these together that it is imperative that we allow our parents to still play a part, but do so in an ethical and legal fashion through school leadership.